Welcome back to Studio Chatter. For many, the happy holiday seasons could mean dark depression. Let's welcome Bryson Lind, a clinical mental health counselor from the Marriage and Family Clinic, to the table.
Welcome. Bryson.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here.
'Tis the season, but
Yes.
sometimes it's not the happiest season for everyone.
It can definitely be a difficult time for a lot of people, especially if you've just moved to town or you've lost family or maybe you've gone through a divorce.
Some of those transition periods.
Yeah, it can be a lonely time for a lot of people, especially when everyone else is smiling.
Good point.
Well, oftentimes even getting together with family can a lot of contention. It's difficult to sit down with the family sometimes, believe it or not.
It can trigger
There's
you.
dread, yes. How can people come to you, or can you guide that in the right direction?
Sure. There's a lot of ways that people can feel kind of that dread. Sometimes you have a family that maybe for multiple different reasons don't get along or didn't get along in the previous holiday season. And so you feel the dread of coming back to that, where especially in the community that we live in, where everybody has a happy family, right?
What that seems like, yeah.
Definitely.
And on social media, they're seeing all the happy families.
Definitely. And so a lot of conflict can come up and a lot of loneliness can come up as well. And so oftentimes topics can come up at the dinner table where maybe you are arguing about politics.
Yes,
right?
and say politics or religion, all those things you should just leave at the door, right?
Especially politics, right? Because it's the midterms.
Yes, all of the triggering issues, all the issues that are really important to us. And honestly, those conversations need to be had. But I think when you come to the table on the holidays and get together as a family or get together as friends, you need to kind of figure out what your final outcome is in mind. Is this a time to resolve conflict about politics or about differing religions? Or maybe we don't like the person that our children are bringing home, or whatever it is. Is this the best time to resolve all of those issues? And I would venture to say probably not, right? It's probably best to prepare before the holidays for those types of things. Have those conversations, talk about those things. If you can't get through it, then it's good to set a boundary. Let's push pause on this so that we can come back to it during a time where maybe we're not all trying to be together and all trying to get along at the same time. And that takes a lot of pressure off of that situation. And so when you get together, you can set a boundary where it's just like, these are things that I've noticed have kind of set us off. And I want this to be an opportunity where we can just all enjoy each other's company as much as we possibly can. And it's okay to say religion and politics are off the table.
So you're not necessarily dismissing someone's, I'm not saying what you think isn't good or whatever, but let's just put that aside and talk about fun and happy things and engage in a different meaningful conversation.
Yeah, definitely. A good kind of little strategy, just in case those things do come up, is it's okay to just briefly switch the subject, where it's just like, let's talk about something that's fun, that is upcoming, like a game that we want to watch together, or a holiday movie that we all enjoy together. It's okay to talk about those things and not talk about the deep, dark things or the serious things at that moment. Sometimes you don't escape from those types of conversations. And the best thing that you can do is, again, if you know yourself and you know that you're quite reactive, it's good to practice beforehand. I'm going to take a deep breath in this conversation. And my outcome is not to be necessarily right about everything, but to build this relationship with the person that I love in front of me. So really respecting what they have to say. And it's okay to say, you know what, we don't see eye to eye on certain things. I can see maybe where you're coming from on this particular issue. It doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it 100%, but that's okay, because I love you more than I love being right.
Right. Now what about for the people who I actually have a lot of family that has passed away during the holidays, and I don't know what it is about the holidays, but it seems like maybe it's just because it is the holidays, then someone passes away, and it just, now the holidays come and you're thinking of that loved one that you've lost. And so what would you say to somebody in that situation?
Yeah, I think grief is complicated, and it's never okay to just tell someone to get over it.
Which is really important, because I think a lot of people jump to that. Because
Definitely.
they don't know, it's uncomfortable for them to feel what someone else is feeling. So they say, well, just, they're in a better place or whatever. I've heard people say that too. And
Absolutely.
that's not comforting, right?
Right, and maybe you believe that, and maybe the person who has experienced the loss believes that too, but it doesn't take away from the fact that that person is gone and they're not coming back, at least for the foreseeable future, if you believe in that.
Yeah.
And so telling them to get over it is not the best strategy. So what I would say is, if you are one of those people who has lost somebody, research shows that people who try to maintain those connections with their lost loved ones are usually the ones with the best outcomes. And so
in what way would you say
yeah,
maintain those connections?
definitely.
Give us some examples of that.
If you're religious, maintaining kind of religious beliefs and traditions during the holiday times that you might have participated in with that loved one that is now gone. Continuing those family traditions during the holidays can be really healing. Something that you can also do too, I'm going to take a drink really fast.
Go ahead, you're talking a lot.
Yeah.
These are great ideas,
Yeah.
by the way.
Something that you can also do too is, the person that you have lost is gone, and they will always be important to you. However, you're still here, and you have who knows how long to be left on this planet that we all live on. And you have people in front of you that care about you, and you have future experiences that you can still thrive and enjoy on. And so what you can do is you can start new traditions with those people as well. What am I going to do differently this year that adds meaning to my life? Something that you can also do is serve others as well.
That's a great idea.
We touched on this briefly, that everyone else might have a smile on their face, but what if I'm feeling lonely?
Sure.
Any recommendations for those dealing with loneliness during the holidays?
Definitely. So loneliness, oftentimes it's a tricky thing, just because it's something that kind of tells us the truth and lies to us at the same time. The lie is that I am the only one that is feeling this way. And that is not true. There are so many people just like you that are feeling those feelings of loneliness for different reasons. And not that that makes it better or easier, but just knowing that you're sharing that little piece of you with the rest of humanity. We all feel lonely. That's a normal human experience. And it's okay to feel more lonely in some parts of our lives than others, right? So what I would say during these times, this is a time to really ramp up and amp up your self-care. What are things that you really like to do? What are things that bring meaning and happiness? Something else that you can do again is to find ways to serve other people who also might be lonely, such as visiting an elderly care facility, or visiting a homeless shelter. Be somebody else's light in their life.
Do you know what's interesting about what you're saying? Because I've volunteered at the senior center for a while, and all these people come in, and you think, well, all these people, like, they're around, I mean, about close to 150 to 200 people when they all come. But one day I went and sat by a lady that was on one of the outside tables. And I just started talking to her, and she's like, thank you for talking to me. I have felt so lonely today. And here she is in a huge crowd of people, but sometimes people don't, say anything to somebody else, or she's like, I have my walker, so I can't really get in there to where all the chatty people are. And
Definitely.
so I thought that was so interesting, that just put even if you're lonely, and I've definitely felt lonely for sure in my life,
Even amongst the crowd.
just to say, you know what, I'm just gonna just talk to somebody, even if it's the cashier at the grocery store or just anybody. You don't know, they can be around a lot of people and still feel lonely.
Absolutely.
What about anger then? If somebody has become bitter to something, maybe they've just recently experienced a divorce or estranged children that are not coming home for the holidays, and they just are mad at the world because why should we have the holidays? Because why?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, anger can be a tricky one, and usually anger is a secondary emotion, and the first emotion is loss. Loss of the opportunity that we could have had something and we don't. That's kind of similar to loneliness as well, right?
Or sadness, right? Sadness can be an underlying emotion there.
That's right. That's
But it's
right.
loss, but not the permanent loss. So
Right.
I can imagine like being angry but not sad.
Yeah, and so I think something that can be helpful about anger is an emotion that moves us forward. What can I do about my current situation in order to make my current situation better? And it's really hard to see in the moment, and I think, again, being patient with yourself, because that can take time. It can take years to not be angry, right? But once you kind of get out of that kind of sense of, I'm going to be angry at everybody, I'm going to be a Scrooge during Christmas or the holidays or whatever it is, eventually you need to get to the point, and I'm not setting a time limit on this on purpose, where I have to keep living. Just like somebody who has lost someone who's near and dear to them. I can't be a victim of my circumstances forever, right? And so you begin to build meaning in your life, and human beings do that by creating connection.
Okay. Oh, so good. We need more time, most definitely.
Yeah, and Bryson, before we leave, will you just let our viewers know where you are located and how people can get a hold of you if they are in need of visiting with someone?
Yeah, definitely.
Having a therapist.
So I work with my partner, Peyton Holt, who is a marriage and family practitioner. And we are at the Marriage and Family Clinic on Main Street. It's just across from Carl's Jr.
Yep, right by the Parks and Rec building.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, overcoming challenges that can lead to amazing results. Stay with us to find out more.